Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Our question today says, attention is a feature of the ego that can make use of awareness to focus it wherever we want to. But how can we put this directed awareness or attention on the subject, which is featureless, and is the place out of which attention sprouts? If attention can never know its place of origin as an object, how to turn within? Are the words turning our attention within misleading? Some people interpret Atma-vichara as a relaxation or withdrawal of the attention, rather than an active focusing or turning. Can it be described in those terms too?
Right. Yes, that which attends is ego. That is, ego is not the real awareness, but it is a form of awareness. It is a distorted form of awareness, because real awareness is pure awareness. And pure awareness means awareness that is aware of nothing other than itself. Why is it aware of nothing other than itself? Because nothing other than itself actually exists. All other things come into existence only, or they seem to come into a semi-existence only when we rise as ego, because it's only in the view of ourself as ego that other things seem to exist. So ego is an awareness that is distinguished by two fundamental features. That is, the pure awareness is aware of itself as I am. Ego is also aware of itself as I am, but not just as I am. Ego is aware of itself as I am this body. That is, whenever we rise as ego, we project a body which we take to be ourself. We experience it as ourself. So that's the first feature of ego. It's always aware of itself as I am this body. And consequently, it is aware of other things. As Bhagavan explained in verse 4 of Uludunapadu, if oneself is a form, the world and God will be likewise. If oneself is not a form, who can see their forms and how? So it's only when we take ourselves to be the form of a body that other forms come into existence, other forms appear in our view. In other words, it's only when we rise as ego and thereby experience ourselves as a body that all other forms appear. So the two fundamental features of ego, firstly, it's always aware of itself as I am this body, and consequently it's aware of other forms. In other words, all phenomena. Forms doesn't mean only physical forms, all types of physical forms, mental forms, everything other than the fundamental awareness I am is a form. Anything that can be distinguished from any other thing is a form. So ego is aware of itself as a form, and it's consequently aware of other forms. Because for ego, there are many things appear in its awareness. It has an ability to focus its awareness on one thing or one set of things in preference to other things. That focusing of ego's awareness, or of the awareness that is ego, is what is called attention. So attention and awareness are not two different things. It is awareness focused is called attention. So as ego, we are habituated to attending to forms, to things other than ourselves. In other words, objects. But we ourselves are not a form. Though we identify a form as I, what ego essentially is not a form. That's why Bhagavan describes it as a formless phantom. So ego is not a form, it's not an object. So how is ego to attend to itself? This is something that puzzles many people at first, because they're so accustomed to attending to objects. To attend to a subject, it seems to be something very, very difficult to grasp. But actually, it's very simple. If we think about it, we can attend to anything we are aware of. We are aware of so many forms, but we are also aware of ourselves. We're aware of ourselves as I am. Though that I am is now mixed with adjuncts, that The core of that awareness, I am this body, is the fundamental awareness I am. So there is never a moment when we're not aware I am. So though I am is not a form, we are clearly aware of ourselves as I am. So we can attend to ourselves. That is the attention that is accustomed to being focused on other things can turn itself around to focus on itself, so to speak. Turn itself around. These all, we use words, no words we use are perfect, but it's the closest we can get. So all the words that Bhagavan uses in his teachings, they're all pointers. So Bhagavan has very clearly said, turning within, see yourself within I. He sings in verse 44 of Arunachaksharam. And in so many other places, he's made it very clear. We have to attend to ourselves. We have to, or sometimes he said ego has to, we have to attend to ourselves. Sometimes he said we have to attend to the place from which we rise, or the birthplace of the mind. The place from which we arise is not actually a place. It is what he means by the place from which we arise is that from which we arise. That is, we arise as ego, I am this body, from what? Only from ourselves, from I am. So the source from which we rise is I am. So that is what we need to attend to. And that is possible. At first, it may seem something rather intangible. Again, I'm using intangible here in a metaphorical sense because it is intangible, but it seems something ungraspable, something a bit difficult. But if we try, if we practice, we can slowly get the hang of, we slowly become familiar with what it is to attend just to ourselves. A clue Bhagavan gave to help people to attend to themselves at the early stages, he said, you can just meditatively, contemplatively repeat the word I. No, you don't have to be saying it quickly, but just, why did Bhagavan give this clue? Because any word we mention, if you mention any noun or any action, it brings a certain thing to our mind. If we say mango, it brings a certain thing to our mind. If we say orange, it brings a certain thing to our mind. If we say tree, it brings a certain thing to our mind. If we say cow, it brings a certain thing to our mind. Or horse, it brings a certain thing. Car, any noun brings a certain idea to our mind. So if we just say I and try to attend to that awareness which is denoted by the word I, it's a way of helping us to grasp what is meant by self-attention. And the more we attend to ourselves, the clearer it will become. That is, this is a path of investigation. So when you start off an investigation, the way forward isn't very clear. But as you proceed with your investigation, things become clearer and clearer. So the more we practice this, the clearer the way will become. So the questions were, how can we put this directed awareness or attention on the subject, which is featureless and is the place out of which attention sprouts? Yes. Attention is being redirected to its own source, to the place from which it sprouted, that is from ourselves. It is possible, as I've just explained. Then the next question is, if attention can never know its place of origin as an object, no, it can't know it as an object, but it does know it as I, how to turn within? Are the words turning our attention within misleading? No, they're not. That is, no words can convey this perfectly because the subject we're talking about, that is, words are used for talking about objects, about things other than ourselves. But we ourselves are the subtlest of all things, and we really cannot describe ourselves in any way. If someone asks us, for example, do you know are you aware I am? Yes, we'll all say, yes, I'm aware I am. Can you describe that awareness I am? Then there's no way we can describe it. But we're clearly aware I am. There's no doubt about it. So it is something subtle. So our mind, because our attention has always been going outwards, it's become relatively gross. It's become a blunt instrument. So how to sharpen this in order to attend to that which is the subtlest of the subtle, namely ourself? We sharpen it by attending to ourselves. That the more we try to turn our attention within, the more that our power of attention, the more our mind is thereby purified, and therefore the power of attention becomes very clear and keen and sharp. So turning within is certainly not misleading. It is a very, very good pointer. Like all words Bhagavan uses, they're all pointers. And then it goes on, some people interpret Atma-vichara as a relaxation or withdrawal of attention rather than an active focusing or turning. No. If relaxation was self-attentiveness, we're all perfectly relaxed every day in sleep. We have no problem in sleep. We're perfectly relaxed. But that is not, that doesn't help our spiritual progress. And it is also, self-attentiveness is also not withdrawal of attention from other things, because every day when we fall asleep, we withdraw our attention from all other things. But that doesn't bring about, we're not thereby aware of ourselves as we actually are. When we fall asleep, we withdraw our attention from ourselves because we're too tired to continue projecting all these things and attending to them. Projecting and attending actually are the same thing, because it's only within our own awareness that we project all these things. When we're too tired to continue this business of projecting, we subside into sleep. There are other means. Sleep is a state of manolaya. Manolaya means a state of temporary dissolution of mind. There are other states of we can achieve the same state of manolaya in other ways. We can, it can be induced by anesthetic, for example. It can be produced by other types of drugs. It can be produced if you have a car accident and get a head injury, you may be in a state of coma. That's also just a state of manolaya. It can also be induced by certain yoga practices, by advanced techniques of pranayama or certain types of yogic meditation. They can bring about a state of manolaya, which is what they call nivikalpa samadhi, kevala nivikalpa samadhi. Bhagavan has said that such a samadhi is no more use than sleep. That is, just like in sleep, our vasanas are not destroyed. In kevala nivikalpa samadhi, our vasanas are not destroyed. Because what are vasanas? Vasanas are our inclinations. They're the seed form of our likes, dislikes, desires, and so on. So vasanas are the fundamental elements of our will. So we can weaken our Vishaya vasanas only when we replace it with another kind of vasana. The opposite kind of vasana to Vishaya vasana is Satvasana. Vishaya vasana means inclination towards Vishayas. Vishayas means anything other than ourselves, all phenomena, all objects. In other words, all forms of Vishayas. So to attend to anything other than ourselves is attention to a Vishaya. So our inclination to attend to other things are what are called Vishaya vasanas. So long as we have that inclination to attend to other things, we're unwilling to turn within, and thereby, because when we turn within, we are thereby surrendering ego. So so long as our Vishaya vasanas are strong, we won't be willing to turn within and surrender ourselves. So we need to weaken our Vishaya vasanas, and we weaken it by cultivating what is called Satvasana. Satvasana means the inclination just to be. That means to be as we actually are. In other words, to know ourselves and to be ourselves, to be know and to be what we actually are. That we cultivate by turning our attention within. That is, at each moment we have a choice. Either we allow our mind to follow our Vishaya vasanas. To follow them means to go off attending to things other than ourselves, thinking about or attending to things other than ourselves. So long as we do so, we are nourishing and sustaining those Vishaya vasanas. Or we can turn our attention back towards ourselves. When we turn our attention back towards ourselves, we are thereby not yielding to that vasana to attend to other things, and thereby we are weakening it, and we are strengthening that sat vasana, the inclination just to attend to ourselves and be ourselves. So it is only in the waking and dream state when ego has risen and is active, but we are able to weaken our Vishaya vasanas and cultivate Satvasana. That's why being in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for any number of years is of no use. To illustrate this, Bhagavan often used to tell the story of a yogi on the banks of the Ganga. A certain yogi, he was practicing pranayama and various types of meditation, whatever, the usual Ashtanga yoga, the Patanjali's yoga. And he had become so skillful in that, he was able to remain for prolonged periods in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Because his being for prolonged periods in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he attracted attention of people, and one disciple came and was serving him very faithfully, because he also wanted he thought this is the real spiritual goal, is to attain this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, so he also wanted to attain it. So he was serving his guru very faithfully. One day he had been for a prolonged time, maybe some days or weeks, in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the yogi, and he woke up. And as soon as he woke up, that came to this waking state, he felt thirsty. So he asked his disciple to go and get water. They were just living just on the shore of, on the banks of the Ganga. So it wasn't far to go and get the water from the river. So his disciple went to the river to get water. But by the time he came back with the water, his guru had already gone back into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And this time he went into Nirvikalpa Samadhi so deeply that he remained in that state for 300 years. Yogis in such a state, it is said they can go so deeply into that into samadhi, but their body is more or less in a state of suspended animation. That is, there will be minimal activity of the breath and heartbeat. There may be one heartbeat every minute or something, and the breathing is also very, very slight. Because of that, their body can last for a very long time. So this yogi remained in that state for 300 years. 300 years later, when he woke up, his the first thought that popped up in his mind is, where is my water? So he angrily asked, where's my water? But that disciple of his had passed away many, many years ago, centuries before. The Ganga had changed its course. So now, instead of flowing near his hut, it was some miles away. And there was nobody about. Nobody, he had been forgotten. He was probably, trees and bushes had grown up around him. So he was, nobody was aware of his being there. But he angrily asked, where's my water? So Bhagavan said, the last thought that was in his mind before he went into Nirvikalpa Samadhi was the first thought that popped up after he woke up. That shows that not even the most superficial of vasanas is destroyed by remaining in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Just like in sleep, however many hours we sleep, our Vishaya vasanas are not destroyed. So we can go into Manolaya in various ways. Every day we're going to Manolaya because of tiredness. We can go into Manolaya because of yogic practices, or because of anesthesia, or because of a head injury. Usually when the body dies, we will usually also go into a sleep-like state, a state of Manolaya for a while, until again ego pops up and again continues dreaming one dream after another. So merely withdrawing our attention from other things is insufficient. This is the path of jnana, the path of knowledge. What is it we are now ignorant of, and what is it we need to know? We are not. What is called ignorant is a wrong. Now we are, instead of being aware of ourselves as just I am, we're aware of ourselves as I am this body. So in other words, we're aware of ourselves as something other than what we actually are. This awareness of ourselves as something other than what we actually are, this false awareness of ourselves is what is called ignorance. And it can be removed only by knowledge. What is the knowledge that can remove the false awareness of ourselves? Only correct awareness of ourselves. So what is called jnana or vidya is nothing but our being aware of ourselves as we actually are. In order to be aware of ourselves as we actually are, we need to attend to ourselves. That is, if you want to see anything, you need to look at it. If you want to know anything, you have to attend to it. Without attending to ourselves, we cannot know ourselves. So self-attentiveness is absolutely essential. And until and unless we begin to attend to ourselves, by other spiritual practices, we may be able to purify the mind to some extent, but we cannot eradicate the root ego.
That's the thing, Michael, that I understand that, of course, that if I'm paying attention to a movie or something, and somebody calls me to give attention to something else, I have to withdraw my attention from the movie, and then I have to put it somewhere else. It would be the same thing in a way. So, but this is because of the nature of the I am, which is not an object, and so on, is featureless and so on. Of course, I have to withdraw the attention from the world and from all things from the world. That would be the first step. And then the focusing would be, it's not the same kind of focusing that we do with objects, but I've heard, like, maybe you've heard the analogy of the glasses. You've lost your glasses and you're looking for them and you don't know where they are. So it's like some kind of remembrance that, I forgot. I had, it's there on my head. Okay, it's like some kind of remembrance or of a sort. But
one question, one self-investigation is not questioning, but Bhagavan expressed it in terms of questions. The questions are clues, and one of the very good clues he gave us is to investigate to whom. That is, whatever we are aware of, whatever appears, to whom does it appear? So when we say to whom does it appear? To me. That to whom, to me, is a way of redirecting our attention back towards ourselves. We can, that is, merely asking the question isn't the self-investigation, but we can, sometimes it may be useful to use the question. That is, when our attention is going here and there, our attention going here and there means so many things are appearing in our awareness. To whom are all these things appearing? That is a very good way of bringing our attention back to I.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Taking the attention back to the I.
And another analogy that is often used in this context and is very, very fitting in this context is the analogy of the 10th man. That is, there were 10 friends decided to go on a pilgrimage, and in order to reach their destination, the pilgrimage place they were going to, they needed to cross a river. So and there was no bridge there, so they had to ford through the river. So it's somewhat dangerous, but if they're careful, they can cross the river. So they all forded the river and reached the other side. And they just wanted to be sure that all 10 of them had crossed safely. So the first one said, okay, I'll just count and see that we've all crossed safely. He counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Only 9. And the other said, no, you've counted wrongly. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of them counted, and each one could count only 9. Why could they count only 9? Because they were looking away from themselves. They were looking for the 10th man outside. None of them was remembered to look at themselves. And then a passerby, then they all started weeping. So seeing them weeping, a passerby said, asked them, what is the trouble? And they said, oh, we were 10 friends. We were going on this pilgrimage and we crossed the river. And after crossing the river, we counted and we're only 9. So the 10th man is lost. And he asked, who is lost? Oh, we don't know who is lost, but we've lost him anyway. He's one of our friends. And they went on weeping inconsolably. This passerby, he understood that he could see clearly they were 10 people. So he understood what happened. So he said, okay, the story is told in different ways. Sometimes it is said he asked the first one to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when he counted the 9, he then turned his hand to point at himself. That's one way it's told. Another way it's sometimes told is that he took a stick and said, okay, I'll tap each one of you. And when I tap you, you count. So he tapped the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he tapped the 10th one, 10. Oh, we are 10. So the story is told, but the point is what they were overlooking, what each one of them was overlooking was himself, because their attention was going outwards. This story illustrates the importance of turning the attention back towards ourselves. Okay, in that case, because it's an analogy, the self that they had lost, the 10th man, was a body. But in this case, it's not a body, it is something much more subtle. It is that which is aware of all these forms. What is it? To whom do all these forms appear? That is what we need to see. So this turning of our attention back towards ourselves is all important. That is what the Advaita is all about. That is the Mahavakyas of the one of the core Mahavakyas, the great sayings of Vedanta, Tattvamasi. That you are. So that is generally we are looking for happiness or God or the reality or whatever we call it. We're always looking outside ourselves. So the Vedas say you are that. So when they say you are that, oh, if I am that, then what am I? Which should be our response. We should immediately turn our attention back towards ourselves. But many people, though they study this Vedanta philosophy and with all the elaborate arguments, anything, they miss the point. But it's simply a matter, we don't have to go on meditating. Oh, I am not this body, I am Brahman, I am that. I'm not this, I'm that. We don't have to go on meditating like that, because that's again just keeping the mind active. What we need to do is to investigate, who am I? We need to turn our attention back towards ourselves. So long as we are, until and unless we turn our attention back towards ourselves, we cannot eradicate, we cannot see what we actually are, and therefore cannot eradicate ego. How can you see the sun? If you want to see the sun, you need to turn and look at it. Until you turn and look at it, you're not going to, you can be looking anywhere else, but you're not going to see the sun. You can see the reflection of the sun, but you can't see the sun directly until you turn and look at it. Likewise, all this is just a reflection of ourselves, but we can't see ourselves as we actually are until we turn and look at ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And the yeah, because again, because of the nature of the I am, I guess you develop like a certainty that you are doing it right, so to speak. I mean, that you don't have any doubts
No,
anymore as
no.
you progress.
Yeah,
It's not that you're asking, oh, am I doing it right or no? No,
yeah,
but without words, I
yeah,
guess you develop this certainty of
yes.
I'm
Uh,
correctly, or I'm.
During the early stages, many people have a doubt, am I doing it correctly? But once you, that is, if we have a doubt whether we're doing it correctly, we need to read Bhagavan's words very carefully. We need to see the clues he's given and try to apply these clues. When we actually apply them, it'll become that the more we apply them, the more clear it becomes. We are not attending to ourselves perfectly. Because if we were attending to ourselves perfectly, ego would be annihilated. But we are, so to speak, turning not the full 180 degrees, but somewhere between 0 and 180 degrees. That is, when we turn the full 180 degrees to face ourselves alone, we will thereby, so to speak, have turned our back on everything else. So when we face ourselves alone, when we attend to ourselves alone, everything else will be will be excluded from our awareness. We'll be aware of ourselves alone. That is the state of pure awareness. That is the state in which ego is in. As soon as we attend to ourself alone, ego is thereby eradicated. But what we are doing, we are partially attending to ourselves. We are not yet willing to let go of other things entirely. So when we're, to the extent to which we are self-attentive, to that extent, other things withdraw into the background, into the periphery of our awareness, so to speak. But they don't disappear entirely until we turn the full 180 degrees. And we won't turn the full 180 degrees until we are willing to surrender ourselves. So our willingness is absolutely essential.
So and then that certainty I was talking about this because it might be because you are your mind is purified enough maybe to go within.
That is, as soon as you started turning more than say 10 degrees or 20 degrees, yes. I can't say how many degrees I'm just, but there's just you experience a certain degree of clarity of self-awareness, and then then it may still be vague, it may still not be very clear, but it's clearer than it was. And it'll be very, that is, it'll be clear that we're on the right track. That is, to the extent to which we attend to ourselves, we are thereby withdrawing our attention to other things. So to that extent, we will experience an increased clarity of self-awareness. That clarity of self-awareness that we experience during practice is what Bhagavan called spurana. Spurana means nothing, it essentially just means shining clearly or being clear. It's that fresh clarity of self-awareness that we are always clearly aware I am, but when we attend to ourselves, that it can't be described in words, but there is an increased clarity of self-awareness. That increased clarity is what is called spurana. It is still only a partial increase in clarity. It's not a full clarity. When we experience the full clarity, that's when we experience spurana in its fullness, that is the state of pure awareness in which ego is thereby annihilated. So
in a way, we could say
people think of spurana as some sort of thing that you're going to find along the way. It's not. Spurana is not an object of experience. It's not something, but it is a quality of experience. That is a clarity of self-awareness. We're always aware I am, but we begin to become more clearly aware of ourselves as something. We don't completely detach ourselves from the body, but we become more and more aware of ourselves as something that is distinct from the body. It's not a perfect clarity until we turn 180 degrees, but it is an increased clarity. That is what is called spurana.
Yeah. So could we say that it's like, it's in a way it is revealed little by little, because we are that already. I mean,
yeah,
it's not that we have to produce it.
It does. It reveals itself.
Progressively, gradually. It is.
Yeah. to
we withdraw your attention from the world and put the attention there.
To the extent to which we are willing to let go of other things and therefore hold on to ourselves, to that extent it will reveal itself. Yes.
And I guess that taste or that scent that we are following, it grows.
It grows. Yes, as we go deeper and deeper in this path,
that certainty becomes stronger as you progress.
Yes.
Yeah, in the path.
But it never becomes plain sailing, because the deeper we go within, if Bhagavan used the analogy of besieging a fortress. If there's a fortress with an army inside, and they've got no food and water, they will keep on coming out. The enemy inside the fortress are the vasanas. So because they cannot survive without our attention. So they keep on coming out for our attention. If we, Bhagavan says, if you cut them down as and when they come, how do we cut them down? By not attending to them, by attending only to ourselves. So eventually we'll be able to, once we've killed enough of the enemy in the fortress, we'll easily be able to enter and take possession of it and find the king of the castle, who is ego, and deal with it as it should be dealt with. That's an analogy Bhagavan gives. But you were saying something, and I started using this, referring to this analogy. What were you saying just before that? No,
yes, you develop that certainty as it grows.
Yes. I know what I was saying. Yes.
So becomes stronger. You don't have doubt anymore.
Yes, you don't have doubts, but as you go deeper, the vasanas are not things other than ourselves. Vasanas are our own inclination. That is, our remaining vasanas will fight back more and more fiercely. But the deeper we go within, the more those that is the enemy in the fortress. If they don't protect themselves, they're going to be killed by us. So they'll fight back very very fiercely. There may only be a few of them left in the fortress, but they'll put up a very fierce resistance. It's like a tiger. If a tiger is being hunted, if it's wounded and in a corner, it may be very, very weak because of all its wounds, but because it's in mortal danger, it will fight back very, very fiercely in spite of all its wounds. Like that, the ego will continue fighting till the very end. Ego means the same ego. Ego is fighting on both sides, actually, because who is it who has the bhakti, the Satvasana? It is only ego. Who is it who has the Vasana? It is only ego. So this ego has inclinations to go outwards. It's also got an inclination liking to go within. So there's this battle between these conflicting conflict within our own will.
It's like a civil war in a way.
Yes,
like,
it is. Ego, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we will put up a fight until the very end, of course, and more fiercely each time that. Exactly. Yeah, and so that's when somebody asks like that. I don't know how to do it. I'm totally lost. That could be because that clarity has to be still acquired, and maybe there's too much attention still on the outside, so the doubts are there. And
that the best way to achieve that clarity is by practice. But the greatest aid to practice is to read Bhagavan's teachings, not just read them superficially, read very, very carefully and deeply. And what is Bhagavan saying here? Trying to follow the clues. That is, every word Bhagavan said is. He said it for a reason, and it's got a clue in it. That doesn't mean we have to go by every word in books like talks and everything, because Bhagavan didn't speak in English. Those books are poor recordings of what Bhagavan said, but in his own writings, in works like Nana, Uludu Napadu, every word has there's deep meaning, so much meaning in each and every verse or sentence there. So we have to read his teaching very carefully, deeply and grasp what he is talking about, people say, some people say, oh, I'm not interested in the theory, I'm only interested in the practice. But in Bhagavan's teachings, there is no such bifurcation between theory and practice, because whatever Bhagavan taught us had practical implications. So, for example, what Bhagavan taught us about the unreality of the world, but the world just being a mental projection. Okay, I'm not interested in that. That's all theory. I'm not interested in this theory. If we say like that, we're missing important clues. Because why is Bhagavan teaching us that this world is, what is this world? Does this world exist apart from us? Perception of the world is the very nature of ego. Because as I said at the beginning, that is, there are two defining characteristics of ego. Firstly, it's always aware of itself as I am this body. Secondly, it's always aware of other things. So being aware of other things, or awareness of other things, is the nature of ego. So our perception of the world is the nature of ego. That's why Bhagavan, early on in Nana, in the third paragraph, he says, unless perception of the world is removed, we cannot know what we actually are, because who is it who perceives the world? Only ourself as ego. So long as we are perceiving the world, we are ego. So long as we are ego, we're aware of ourselves as I am this body. We're not aware of ourselves as just I am. So everything that Bhagavan taught us, it all has practical implications. So understanding his teachings clearly is a very, very great aid to putting this into practice.
We can deny that there is a link or a bridge between theory and practice. I mean, it's not, they're not, I mean, they're not totally theories.
Anyone who thinks theory and practice are different in Bhagavan's teaching has not understood Bhagavan. Bhagavan doesn't teach anything just for, Bhagavan doesn't teach philosophy just for the sake of philosophizing. Bhagavan's philosophy is an extremely practical philosophy. So whatever Bhagavan taught us, has practical implications. So the more clearly we understand, the deeper we'll be able to go in the practice. The deeper we go in the practice, the more clearly we'll be able to understand his teachings. That is why it is said, Sravana Manana Nididhyasana. Sometimes it is said, oh, first you must do Sravana. Once you've mastered Sravana, then you must do Manana. And once you've mastered Manana, then you go on to Nididhyasana. It's not like that. It's a cyclical process. That is, we do a little bit of reading. We think about it. We try to put it into practice. We struggle with our practice. Oh, it's not clear. What exactly am I to attend to? So we go back to reading. But the more deeper we go in the practice, the more we'll be able to see him, the more depth and depth and clarity of meaning we'll be able to see in Bhagavan's words. And the more depth and clarity we see in his words, the more it will help us to go within. So the Sravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, they go on in a cyclical, I mean, each one feeds into the other one.
Yeah, and the good thing is, unlike sitting formally meditation and silence for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours or so, it's like Atma-vichara, you can do it at the traffic lights, waiting for the traffic light to, in 10 seconds, you can.
Yeah, every moment every moment is an opportunity for us to attend to ourselves.
Okay.
Because our Vishaya vasanas are strong, most of the time we won't be attending to ourselves. But slowly, slowly, we need to cultivate that habit little by little by little by little. One of the verses that Bhagavan selected from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 25, begins Sane Sane. Sane Sane means gradually, gradually. Bhagavan selected that and translated it into Tamil. Mella Mella, he said in Tamil. That means slowly, slowly, gradually, gradually, gently, gently. What are we to do gently, gently? Fix the mind in self and do not think of anything else whatsoever, if the verse concludes. So it begins gently, gently. It ends, do not think of anything else whatsoever. Fix the mind in Atma Samstam Manakritva na Kinchitapi Chintayat in Sanskrit, in Tamil. Chitte Ama Vilsa Tiduka Treduvum itenium enidade. Do not think in the slightest of anything else. But in order to reach that point of not thinking of anything else, we need to gradually wean our mind off its inclination to go outwards.
Maybe, Michael, what in the word, because it said that attention, the words turning our attention within could be misleading. That could be because of our interpretation of, when we think of attention, is always something outside. So
yes.
That's why it sounds confusing to us, because how am I going to attend if attention goes always
that is,
outwards? No?
Bhagavan has said the real teaching is in silence, because only in silence can the truth be conveyed perfectly. However, teachings in words are necessary because our attention is going outwards. And language is a tool for talking about things other than ourselves. So we are using this language, but Bhagavan is using this language, which has developed to talk about other things, to talk about ourselves. So we have to see beyond the words. What are these words pointing at? No words are adequate for this subject, but that's why Bhagavan uses metaphors, analogies, and he uses very, very simple language. Turning within, see yourself. How am I to see myself? I can only see things outside. I can't see anything inside. No, see is there used metaphorically. So all the word, the language is metaphorical, but we have to see what is where these words are pointing. They're all pointers. They're not perfect expressions, but it cannot be expressed perfectly. It is beyond thought, it's beyond words.
Yeah, but among all 4 fingers pointing to the moon, I would choose Bhagavan, of course.
Yeah. So we have to be very, very patient with ourselves. We have to be very calm. We need to read his teaching carefully and calmly. We shouldn't be impatient and think, oh, I want to read this, I want to master it, I want to. No, there are just a few texts Bhagavan has given us, a few core texts like Nana, Ulujunaptu, Upadeshundiya, and Arunachastuti, and a few other small poems. We can spend a whole lifetime studying these works and still be learning from them. Not that we're learning new information. As we go deeper in the practice, we get greater and greater clarity of understanding. We have more insight into what these verses are about, what Bhagavan is pointing at here. It becomes clearer and clearer as we go deeper. So we don't have to study a lot. If we just study a few of Bhagavan's core works, that is sufficient. We don't need to. I mean, it's nice to read other things. Nice to read, for example, Guruvachaka Kavai. Murugan has recorded more than 1,200 sayings of Bhagavan. It's nice to read those, but who can remember 1,200 verses? Some people may be able to. I certainly can't. But things like Uluduna, Upadeshundiya, Nana, very easy. If we become familiar with it, it's very easy to remember the substance of those verses. But what is recorded in Guruvachaka Kavai is very, very useful supplements. It helps, it confirms our understanding of many things. But the essence of it all is in these core works.
Yeah.
Bhagavan's own writings, he's given us all that we need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we have to dig deeper into his words and get some more meaning out of them, and little by little, and that will revert into our practice. Yeah. Okay, Michael. So thank you very much.
And one other thing, as we go on, we learn more and more. We don't have to ask others. We don't have to always asking our doubts to others. But all the answers are there within us. That is, with the aid of Bhagavan's teachings, we can find all the answers we need within ourselves.